Welcome to International Trade Minute, Quickfire Trade News, the essential podcast for today's trade professionals, presented to you by Rydell Law Firm. If you're a seasoned practitioner, this is where you'll find your weekly distilled briefing on the pulse of international commerce and regulation. We bring you the latest legal and trade news, distilled into straightforward, bite-sized updates for busy trade professionals. Sponsored by Rydell Law Firm, this podcast is crafted by expert trade attorneys to keep you ahead of the curve with concise, actionable insights. Perfect for your morning commute or coffee break. Stay informed without the fluff. Subscribe now on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and join our professional community on LinkedIn. Let's dive in. Today, we are exploring the latest updates in international trade, CBP's new enforcement on organic import regulations, Indiana University's export compliance commitments, OFAC's fine on an Italian animation company for violating North Korea sanctions, and Treasury's proposed outbound investment regulations targeting China. Let's dive into the key details and recommended action items for these noteworthy developments. First up, CBP will soon begin rejecting ACE filings for products that fail to comply with certain organic import filing requirements under the USDA's Strengthening Organic Enforcement Final Rule. This includes the requirement for electronic National Organic Program import certificates. Since the new USDA organic enforcement regulations became effective in March, CBP has been issuing warnings for non-compliant filings. However, starting June 28th, these warnings will turn into rejections in the certification environment. By September 19th, the rejections will be enforced in the production environment as well. Filings featuring the USDA Agricultural Marketing Service AM8 tariff flag, indicating that the harmonized tariff schedule code entered is for an organic product and necessitates the filing of an NOP import certificate, will be specifically targeted. Meanwhile, AM7 flags, which suggest the HTS code may be subject to the AMS organic import certificate filing, will continue to receive warnings. Trade practitioners should ensure that all ACS filings comply with these updated requirements to avoid disruptions in the certification and production processes. Coming up next, Indiana University recently dodged a fine, but now faces several export compliance commitments after it disclosed violations related to the export of genetically modified fruit flies carrying a controlled toxin. The Bureau of Industry and Security, or BIS, acknowledged IU's voluntary disclosure and cooperation, which played a significant role in avoiding monetary penalties. The university admitted to 42 violations of the Export Administration regulations, stressing the importance of vigilance even with seemingly minor items in research. As a part of the settlement, Indiana University will now have to implement comprehensive export compliance training for relevant administrators. Additionally, it is required to make informative presentations about its illegal exports to both the Bloomington Drosophila Stock Center directors and the wider university export control community. Over the next year, the institution will be on probation, and any further violations could result in the revocation of its export privileges. BIS highlighted that the university's self-reporting and remedial measures led to a significant reduction in potential penalties. The incident underscores the agency's expectation for research institutions to maintain strict export compliance and demonstrates the benefits of self-disclosure and extensive cooperation when violations are uncovered. This case also reflects BIS's ongoing outreach to universities to foster better compliance standards amidst high-risk technology transfer scenarios. In summary, Indiana University's proactive steps following the incident serve as a critical reminder to all research entities about the importance of stringent adherence to export control laws and the value of voluntary disclosure in mitigating enforcement actions. Next on the agenda, Mondo TV, an Italian animation company, has been fined $538,000 by the Office of Foreign Assets Control for violating U.S. sanctions. The company outsourced work to a North Korean government-owned studio and made financial transactions through U.S. banks, breaching U.S. sanctions against North Korea. Interestingly, despite not having a sanctions compliance program in place, Mondo TV cooperated fully with OFAC's investigation, which played a significant role in reducing their penalty from a potential multi-million-dollar fine. This case serves as a stark reminder of the risks associated with engaging in business with sanctioned entities and highlights the importance of maintaining robust compliance programs. Trade practitioners should ensure that their operations and third-party interactions are thoroughly vetted to avoid similar pitfalls. And for our closing piece, the Treasury Department has recently unveiled a set of proposed regulations aimed squarely at U.S. investments in China, Hong Kong, and Macau, specifically targeting the semiconductor, quantum, and AI industries. These new rules are driven primarily by national security concerns, aiming to curb investments that could inadvertently bolster sensitive technologies in these regions. Key aspects of the proposal include outright prohibitions on certain types of investments, while other transactions will require formal notifications to ensure compliance. Treasury is taking a narrow and targeted approach, intending to focus solely on investments that pose a legitimate risk. General investments will not fall under these regulations unless they meet specific criteria relating to semiconductors, quantum technologies, or AI. Due diligence will be absolutely essential under these new rules. U.S. persons and entities will be obligated to conduct thorough checks to establish whether their transactions fall under the prohibitions or notification requirements. This includes an expectation for reasonable transactional due diligence processes to ensure an understanding of the details and implications of each investment. Public comments on these proposed regulations are being welcomed until August 4th, with final regulations expected to be issued soon after. The advancing timeline underscores the significance and urgency that the Treasury Department is assigning to these measures. In summary, for trade practitioners, it's imperative to stay vigilant and engaged with these developments. Ensuring robust compliance protocols and due diligence measures will be critical in navigating this evolving regulatory landscape. Thanks for tuning in to International Trade Minute. We hope you found today's episode insightful and useful for your practice. Remember, our podcast is brought to you by Rydell Law Firm, your trusted partner in navigating international trade law. Don't miss our next episode. Subscribe now on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Stay connected and continue the conversation with us on LinkedIn. Until next time, stay informed and stay ahead.